Madam Director. Hello.
Hello.
Well, we'll get this thing started. I know folks have been talking at you all day. This is the history in the making panel, and President Biden, I think, was very clear when he came into office that he was going to create a federal government that looks like America and reflects America. And we're not talking about politics, but he also was very clear on a political stage that he knew who had his back and he would have their back, Black women. Am I right? So as a result, we've seen some very capable Black women running things, starting with Vice President Kamala D. Harris, the first Black woman to serve on the Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson, no stranger to this stage, Karine Jean-Pierre, who is the White House spokesperson. And before she crossed over, Simone Sanders was a pretty powerful spokesperson in the White House as well. But on this list of esteemed women is a woman who walked in here today with some big old armed guards, and runs the federal agency that's responsible for the coinage, AKA where the money resides. So this is pretty important. You see this big coin around her neck. She's not playing around. So ladies and gentlemen, the head of the U.S. Mint is run by a Black woman. That Black woman is Director Ventris Gibson. Let's give her a round of applause. She is a Navy veteran. Thank you for your service. She is a mom to two-legged and four-legged children, from what I understand. She's a grandmother with a distinguished career in government. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your personal and professional journey that brought you to the United States Mint.
Certainly, very briefly. I was in the United States Navy, came out to be an air traffic controller because that's what I did in the Navy. I wanted to be a journalist, but the Navy decided what it wanted me to be. And I fell in love with aviation, came out ready to go work for FAA as an air traffic controller. The dynamics of that time changed with hiring freezes for federal employees, et cetera. And so I walked into VA and said, what are my benefits as a veteran? They said, you're a veteran? I said, yes. Vietnam era? Yes. Black woman? Yes. Woman? Yes. Do you want a job? Yes. So I started with VA, and my love for veterans and care of veterans, I stayed with VA 23 years. And then the FAA administrator, Marion Blakey, who just retired as the president of Rolls-Royce, but she ran FAA at that time, and offered me a job to come and run all of human resources for FAA, including air traffic control, aviation safety, et cetera. And I said, wow, how do you leave a job after 23 years of something you love? Well, I decided to do so. After that, I retired from the federal government of nearly 40 years. At that time, 35 years. And then was very happy in retirement. I got a call from the Obama administration to do some training around how do you interface politically and career. And I worked for different federal agencies advising them on, at that time, sequestration was huge. From that, I went ahead and worked for federal agencies, and then Mayor Bowser was elected mayor of Washington, and I got a call, would I like to come and run HR for the city? And I tell you, state and local government is where it starts. And as much as you can become connected to state and local government, you can influence the outcome from there up. That's how national policy is set, through state and local government. And I think Stacy and others talked about that earlier. That's my claim to fame. I was getting ready to retire after 6 or 7 years with the mayor, and I got a call from the White House. I said, wow, I'll never retire. When I looked at my honorable discharge from the United States Navy, I have worked 51 years. And I know I look like it's only 20. So that's how I got here. I had no idea that the United States Mint would become my dream job. So I remained open to change, I remained flexible, and I fell in love with everything that I've always done. And human resources might be an administrative occupation that some feel are thankless. The bottom line is this: it prepared me for leadership. And that is where my claim to fame comes from. Thank you.
Well, we thank you for your leadership. So 1792, I was looking way back to all the various directors of the Mint. They date back to 1792. As you can imagine, they did not look like anybody in here. We saw a number of white men, a sprinkle of women here and there, and then I scrolled down about 200 plus years later and I saw a picture of you. And what a privilege it was, again, to see the first Black person to ever run the United States Mint. What does that mean to you, and why is it important that that barrier was broken?
It's important that the barrier is broken because it helps us to set the stage for our youth to know that there are no limits, that as long as you do your best. My father raised us on sayings, good, better, best, never let it rest, tell you good is better and your better is best. I'd say it all the time. and that is always putting your best foot forward, making sure that you know your craft. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So know where you're going, know what you want to do. And for me, it was all about service. And if that was part of my DNA, fine. But what is your DNA? What are you passionate about? And once you get where you are, show it. And, you know, I wear this coin. I always tell people I drank the Kool-Aid and it was wonderful. But I love this job. And to the 1,700 employees that work for me, we also are responsible for Fort Knox. And I said, look, don't let anything happen to Fort Knox under my watch. But, you know, we have 1,700 employees that daily, we work through all of the pandemic. And we also make during the pandemic, we made 14 billion coins a year. We're averaging somewhere between 500 to a billion now. And that will obviously change. We're the largest mint in the world. France is the oldest mint in the world. But we do more in the United States than most countries who have mints. They look to us, and it is my responsibility not only to represent the U.S. Mint, but to represent us as a people. So that, and do I have to work harder? You bet. Do I have to work longer? You bet. Do I have to give more? You bet. But you know what? Harriet Tubman did it for us. And we have an obligation to do it for each other.
Absolutely. Clap it up. Speaking of Harriet Tubman, you know, there was a quote in CNN that you gave that said, we all owe Harriet Tubman a huge debt of gratitude because I and so many others would not be where we are today if not for her heroism, her passion for freedom for our people, and for her service to this country. I think we can all agree with that. So, you know, today Black women lead attendees can purchase the Harriet Tubman commemorative coin outside with the big scary guards. Right outside the door. Why is it so important that Harriet Tubman be represented on those coins? And can you tell us about other programs that highlight women?
Certainly. First and foremost, Harriet Tubman 13 different times walked from Maryland to Pennsylvania to ensure the freedom of our people. She never lost one person or left one behind. And she had a brain injury. She had seizures. She was not as young as I am. I like to say that. And she also had, they passed a law making it illegal and trying to fine her. And she prevailed. And then she went on to become in charge of a battalion in the Army, where she ensured the freedom of 750 slaves at one point at a river. She also was a spy and came back to the Union Army and said, here's what you better watch out for, and was successful. So that's why we have to do it. Look what she did. She, of all people, think about all people, she did what nobody else did or has ever done. So that's why she is. For the first time in American history, we have women on quarters. We started with Maya Angelou last year. Yes. Later this year, Celia Cruz. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. And of course, we had Bessie Coleman, the first African-American, Native American woman pilot. Next year, we just celebrated Dr. Pauli Murray, who not only was a phenomenal first Episcopalian priest, but she also had a devotion to LGBTQ plus rights. And then, guess who's coming out next year? Ida B. Wells. And also we have Althea Gibson, the tennis player. And we have other women too. We have, for the first time in American history, a woman was the principal chief of the Cherokee Nation. Her name was Wilma Mankiller. Imagine her name. And you've heard of prima ballerinas? The first Native American that brought prima ballet to the United States was a Native American, Maria Tallchief. So we have so many women to celebrate for the first time in American history. Our daughters, our nieces, our nephews, our cousins, our children can look and see a woman on a coin, and it's about time.
All right. Well, this time clock is telling us it's also about time for us to get up out of here, but clearly Director Gibson is not playing around. It is a blessing to have a strong Black woman in federal government that's not only helping us remember our history, but making history at the same time. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you all.